Hi everyone, and welcome to Human Design 101. I'm Paula Fehrmann, your host, qualified life trust coach and human design fanatic. I guide my clients to become their own experts by understanding and, more importantly, living their design. When I first came to human design, I was so overwhelmed by the triangles, squares, arrows, and numbers in the chart that I didn't touch it for more than a year. However, my human design experiment has been the most important transformation in my life, which is why I want to show you how you can use your design as a simple tool to heal, transform, integrate, grow, and ultimately become your own expert. No more looking for the experts outside of you. Keep listening and learning here on the podcast, reach out for private coaching, or book a chart reading with me. Let's talk Human Design 101. Hi everybody, and welcome back to Human Design 101. This week I'm going to share with you a tool that has been super transformational for me personally, and because of that I believe you will find it very helpful too. We're talking about figuring out your comfort zone and growth edge through the lens of astrology. And before I dive into it, I have to say I am not an astrologer. I dabble as a 5-1. This is giving you background. I am all about information and understanding systems. So I have got foundational knowledge of astrology, but I am not an astrologer. So take what I'm sharing with a grain of salt. But this idea that I'll be sharing with you has been so, mind-blowing for me. It's helped me really hone in and understand, where am I in my comfort zone? What area of life do I actually need to change this kind of comfort zone behavior? And what area of life does it feel supportive? And where can I lean into these traits that come easy to me? Because comfort zone is not comfort zone, and we don't have to be uncomfortable in all of our areas of our life. Secondly, it helped me identify what I call my growth edge. So it helped me identify and understand where a shift in behavior is needed and what that behavior specifically looks like. Okay, and you guys, you might be listening and be like, okay, well, this sounds relatively, normal to me. Why is this so mind-blowing to you? And the fact that this is mind-blowing to me is because these are behaviors I previously had not even considered or seen as a possibility. And this showed me that I hit the nail on the head. This showed me that this is exactly where I need to be. And honestly, this feeling and understanding was so good to me that I want to share it with everyone listening. And I believe that if you use this little formula that I'm going to share with you, you're going to be able to figure out and progress in such a quick amount of time that I was like, I cannot keep this from people. So if you've ever felt stuck in old patterns or wondered why you're repeating the same story, different faces, over and over again, you are in an area of life that life wants you to grow, and you're being invited to engage in new behaviors. And so this information that I got from this epiphany, which by the way, I did not come to with myself. That was a combination of chats with friends, and it finally clicked over lobster pasta and a glass of white wine. And the friend that I talked to this about is a manifester, and I thanked her later. And she was like, yeah, it really took us a while to get there. And I was like, yeah. And I'm so grateful we took the time to get there, because now I have completely changed my view on this area of life, which is just feels so fun and refreshing, and it feels really grounded. You know, sometimes when you feel like you completely change your view on something, you have this idea of, oh, I'm going to do everything different now. I've maybe got this new way of exercising and this new way of eating food. and I've found the holy grail, or I've found human design now and it's going to change everything, or I'm dating this new guy and he's going to change everything. If you are like this, you know that this kind of behavior is oftentimes driven by lack and fear and intensity, the idea that something isn't right with the way you are right now, that your life isn't abundant enough without a man or without having this body that you desire. I mean, nothing wrong with having goals and moving towards them, but we want to be doing that in a sustainable way and not in the kind of crash and burn type of way where we go for something 110% and then burn out and have to go back to where we started. So let's dive into this, right? So we are looking at what is called the South Node and the North Node axis in astrology. So first of all, if you want to follow along, I recommend that you get your astrology chart. You go into astro.com or any kind of site where you can type in your birth data. You'll need your birth time and your birthplace, and you'll get a chart. And in that chart, you can look out for a little sign that looks almost like a horseshoe. And this is what is called your North Node. This is going to be in a certain sign and a certain house. And opposite of that, if you draw a line through the chart, you don't see a sign, but this is where your South Node is. And this axis, the South Node being in a sign in a house, the North Node being in a sign in a house, opposite of that is showing you where you're coming from, south, and where you're going to, north. So your South Node is the behaviors and patterns and areas of life that has been really well practiced for you in past lives. You already know that you're good at it. It comes really easy to you in this lifetime. And this is where your comfort zone lies, right? So for example, my South Node is in the 7th house, the house of relationships. And it is in Aries, which is a fire sign. So I'm really good and comfortable in relationships and fiery relationships. I am comfortable with depth and intensity. I am comfortable with making relationships with people, connecting. This is really easy for me. And this is where it starts to get a little nuanced. You can see that my ability to connect with people is a big strength of mine. I use it on the podcast. I use it with clients. I use it when I teach on the mat. There is a lot of abundance and beauty and opportunities that comes through my ability to connect with people easily. However, if I'm looking at an area where I want to create change and my ability to go deep very quickly seems like what I'm doing comfortably and all the time, I'm invited to pivot. So let's make this even more clearer, because I feel I can sense that I'm talking about or tiptoeing around something important here. We call it den heißen Brei reden in German. So let's say I want to invite relationship energy into my life. I'm looking for my partner because I'm a Libra, and I go with what everybody's talking about on Instagram. I go with I need to find my husband. I'm not dating to date. I'm finding my husband. I am, this intensity that someone could describe very well as intentional. And for some people, this might work very well. But for me, this kind of behavior is exactly my South Node. It's knowing that I can connect with people very quickly and that I can make connections work very easily. And so this is my comfort zone. It's either 100% leaning in and maybe leaning in a little bit too early when I haven't given myself enough time to get to know a person, getting overexcited, being oh, maybe he's the one. No, okay. Or when I then see that they're disappointing and not meeting my very high expectations, drawing back 100%, drawing a boundary and being excuse me, no, you're not good enough for me. So you see this like 0 or 100 behavior in this area. And then let's look at the South Node, the North Node, the opposite of that, which is, for me, first house, Libra. So the first house is all about the self. It's like the ego house. It's like me, me, me. It's usually the sign Aries is at home here. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. And Aries is kind of like pushing the head through the wall, childlike initiation energy. It's like very playful and very self-centered in a beautiful way. And so you can see that that's my North Node. This is where I'm being invited to grow into. Now, my North Node isn't in Aries, but it's in Libra. So I still have a relationship element, the harmonious element, the graceful element, the diplomatic element of Libra in this area. But it is all wrapped up in the idea of be a little more selfish, show up authentically, do that gracefully, but think about yourself first. And previously, I thought, when I just described this 0 to 100 pattern to you, I thought that the 0 pattern, the way I'm like, no, you're not good enough for me, I'm stepping back, you don't deserve my attention, which is, as I'm sharing about it, you can hear that's like a wounded reaction. That's not the graceful, anchored in my value kind of energy I bring to the table now. Different. And so previously I thought this kind of behavior was my North Node behavior. I thought the pulling back and focusing on myself 100%, that was me doing what I was invited to do by the universe. That was where my growth edge lies. But actually, if I think about it now, it is kind of easy, right? It's easy to be 0 or 100. But what's not easy is the 50%, the in the middle. And this is where my growth edge lies. How can I stay connected, whether it's relationship, friendship, relationship to myself, relationship to a new behavior, relationship to exercise, relationship to food, relationship to music, whatever it is that you're working on, that you're currently desiring change, how can I stay connected to that and myself first? And how can I show up in behaviors that look like 50%? So let's go back to the dating example. This is what dropped in over the lobster pasta, where I was like, but what would 50% even look like? Like, I don't know. Like, what does that look like? And, this hasn't been too long ago. And since then, I've already gotten so much opportunities to practice being playful, to practice lightness, to practice not sharing everything or not inviting a space where I want to hear about a person from 0 to 100. Because again, this is what I'm comfortable with. And for example, what is very great when I work with coaching clients, because people usually feel very safe opening up with me. And in that container, it's perfect because that means we can work through things quickly and we can get through the desired outcome very fast. But on a date, I'm not meant to be a coach, and I don't want to be a coach, frankly. And it happened to me often that people walked away and are like, I'm so grateful we talked about this. I don't really have anyone who I can talk to these things about in my life. And this got me curious, and I was like, this isn't really... Look, this would be great if they paid me for my work, but if they're not, this isn't the role that I want to be in dating. Maybe with like my close friends and my partners that I've been with for a long time, family, these kind of like deep relationships. But this kind of depth needs to be developed and earned over time. And so this is where I started looking at, okay, what could these 50% behaviors look like? Sharing a little bit and then saying, well, we can talk about this more later, or pivoting the topic to something cheeky and fun and playful where I'm like, asking people about things I want to know without hearing their whole life story. So instead of being like, okay, someone is telling me about the companies that they founded, and instead of being like, okay, tell me the whole story. What are the companies? What motivated you in, founding them? How did they grow? When did you sell them? Blah, 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 blah. I think about one thing about them showing up in their work that I asked them about. So, for example, the other day I was like, oh, I want to know, when you were 15 and a half years old, did you think that you were going to be a founder? And then what they tell me about that is going to be way more fun and interesting without making it a whole, like, okay, show me your CV and tell me your story type of session, because there's so much room for that, for things to unfold. And as you hear me talking about this, you can probably tell that also takes off a lot of pressure. I'm like, I have no rush in getting to know anyone. I've got no rush in calling in a person, and there's no pressure on whatever this is, because we're just taking time to get to know each other. And this, for me, is exactly where my growth edge lies. And I know this because this behavior I have not engaged in. I was very much 0 or 100 before. This behavior is my growth edge because I didn't know what it could look like. But when thinking about it and practicing it, it feels like ease. It feels like sustainable. It feels like slow lessons over time. And there's a little bit of nuance to this because of the planetary placements I have in the first house and the seventh house. I've got Saturn in the seventh house. That means that, Saturn is a very kind of teacher, grandfather type energy of like slow, structured, disciplined learning. So what I'm describing to you, this like slow unfolding, that's exactly the energy that I'm being asked to lean into. And okay, so in the sake of learning, let me repeat that to you. Your South Node is where you're comfortable. That's your comfort zone, even though it might not feel comfortable to you, because like 0 or 100 behavior isn't comfortable. Like what I described, that's what you automatically do and what can feel like comfort in other areas of your life, because it's the strength that you have, like me in coaching or connecting with my community, networking, these kinds of things. But in the area that you're being invited to grow in, which is your South Node, North Node axis, that is where the growth happens in life for you, and where you cannot succeed by displaying the South Node behaviors. Success always comes through leaning into the North Node. And so South Node is your comfort zone. North Node is your North Star, where you're being invited to grow and evolve into. And you can find those out by looking at the little horseshoe in your astro chart. And so before I'm giving you a few more examples of what that could look like, I want to say that I have a special offer for podcast listeners, because right now I feel like just giving back and supporting you in this growth cycle, the same way that I've received support from my people. And I want to offer you, if you book a free intro call and you put the word growth in when you book it, I'm going to give you a 30-minute session on this topic for 50 euros. So really low ticket offer. Usually my coaching is a lot more, but I'm confident that if we get together and we identify these behaviors, have a little look into your astro chart to just inform where we're going, you're going to walk away knowing exactly what to do and how to do it. And the empowerment that you bring into the world through that, the ripples that they will create, honestly, is what's the word I'm looking for? Is invaluable. So yeah, let's ripple together. Again, book a free intro call with me and put the word growth in the survey that you fill out, and we'll handle everything, birth time, etc. after there. I'm excited to get to connect with you in this way and to grow and rise together. Okay, and so now let's look at some more examples. So if someone had their North Node in the 10th house and their South Node in the 4th house. The 4th house is all about home and nurturing, the inner world. So this person might be very comfortable, what I would probably call, quote unquote, hiding at home, being a real home buddy, looking after their loved ones and creating this beautiful, nurturing shell type of space for them and their loved ones. But where they're actually growing is in the outward world. They need to get visible. They need to put themselves out there. They need to show up in a new way. And then obviously it depends on the houses, the house and sign pairing and the planets in those areas. But that would be a good example. Or we'll look at the 2nd and 8th house axis. So this person, if their North Node is in the 2nd house and their South Node in the 8th, they might be very comfortable sharing resources with other people and giving value and connecting. They might be comfortable with intensity and depth and this kind of Scorpio type energy of like money, connection, deep stuff, shadow. And they're being asked to find and create their own value first, to find their own journey, to focus on what value they bring instead of sharing it with others so intensely, to be like, hey, look at what I can do in this life. Look at where I'm going. What are my goals? What do I actually want? So if you've been wondering, why am I stuck? If you're kind of tired of repeating the same thing, same story over and over again, check your chart, look at the North Node, look at the South Node, how they relate, and find out where your growth edge lies. If you want a little bit of support with me, again, the offer is there. It's super accessible purposefully for everybody and anyone. Book yourself in. We're going to go straight to your chart. We're going to look straight at those behaviors, what they could look like. So in short, it's going to be personal, short, sweet, super punchy and tailored to you, and is going to leave you with a feeling of renewed excitement about where you're going. Thank you so much for listening today. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you sharing this podcast. I'm so grateful for all the comments and the, what are they called? The little ratings coming in. I'm going to see you here next week. If you're listening on YouTube, you're seeing my new space. It's all a little bit kind of like in transition, not fully set up yet, but lots of love from Lisbon. Thank you and bye-bye. Thank you so much for being here today and listening along to Human Design 101 with me, your host, Paula Fehrmann. I trust that you received exactly what you needed from today's episode, and I love how the universe matched us today. If you enjoy listening and learning with me, please leave a review wherever you are listening to this podcast so that more people can unlock their true selves and ultimately become who they were meant to be using human design. Until next time, lots of love and bye-bye.